虽然俄乌战火仍然如火如荼，但两国的天然气运输却没有因此受到影响。
Even during this war, we're still seeing supplies flow through Ukraine out of Russia and into Europe, and that really speaks to this codependent relationship and how important energy is within the context of this war.
俄罗斯是全球最大的天然气出口国，也是全世界第2大的天然气生产国。目前欧洲有40%的天然气是由俄罗斯供应，其中25%是通过乌克兰的管线运输。
Energy is really at the front and center of the conflict that we're seeing between Russia and Ukraine. And basically, Europe is really heavily dependent on Russia for fuel, but Russia is dependent on Europe for revenue from those fuel sales. So it's really this complicated, codependent relationship that spans decades.
能源成了欧洲的死穴。去年10月，因为疫情后需求量大增，一度涨到新高点。俄乌战争更让3月份的天然气价格一口气冲破到历史新高。不到1个月之内，欧洲天然气价格就暴涨了3倍，还没祭出制裁就创下天价，也难怪欧盟无法轻易暂停向俄罗斯进口天然气。其实早在80年代 ，CIA 就曾经提出警告，认为欧洲恐怕会被俄罗斯的能源绑架。
What we're seeing here is the consequence of Europe's allowing itself to become so reliant on Russian natural gas and oil, to the extent that, firstly, Vladimir Putin has been able to build up and modernize Russia's military, re-establish Russia as a great power capable of winning multiple wars.
俄罗斯政府也相当仰赖能源出口，在2011年到2022年之间，石油、天然气的进账就占政府年收入的43%。每天欧洲付给俄罗斯买石油的费用就达到2.85亿美元，但可不是每一分钱都进到莫斯科政府的口袋。
Russia always found it a bit unfortunate that they had to pay transit fees for transiting both Belarus and Ukraine. Now, with Belarus, they put so much pressure on the country that at some point Gazprom was able to buy the pipeline. Ukraine was always the problematic child that they didn't like and that they have problems with.
光是俄罗斯天然气的转运费用，乌克兰国营天然气公司每年可以坐收30亿美元。长期以来，俄乌在天然气管线上的纷争，也为两国的战火埋下祸根。
Essentially now having 4 big gas corridors from Russia to Europe, one through the Baltic Sea, one through Belarus, one through Turkey, all of which are controlled by Russia, as well as the one through Ukraine, which is still not controlled by Russia. And that has always upset the Russians, and they wanted to circumvent it in order to get rid of this choke point in Ukraine.
天然气可能是俄罗斯挥兵乌克兰的其中一个诱因，也是欧洲无法理直气壮跟俄罗斯切八段的因素。专家直指，欧洲永续能源发展不到位，更让这段纠葛剪不断，理还乱。
One thing that Russia's war in Ukraine is really bringing to the fore is energy policy on the short-term and long-term basis. Right now, there are all these fears about fuel shortages. If infrastructure is damaged, if Putin decides to weaponize energy and turn off the taps, what are we going to do? So right now, everyone's saying we need to pump more, we need more oil, we need more gas, just because there's this big fear that our renewable infrastructure is not quite there yet.
绿色能源发展还需要时间，欧洲恐怕得靠全球最大的天然气生产国美国来填补缺口。
It's important to note that we're already at max capacity. We're already sending record amounts to Europe, and that's a change from prior years. Essentially, what happened is that cargoes that were heading to Asia were diverted and went to Europe instead. Now, a lot of that was because of pricing dynamic.
预计今年美国将额外加码提供欧盟超过150亿立方公尺的液化天然气，但就怕俄罗斯用能源作为要挟，影响俄乌和平协议的签署。欧洲也忙着提前为今年冬天的天然气用量来做准备。
There are also certain intermediate products or even final products that the US could export, be it things like paper or steel, but also ammonia, methanol, so things that are highly energy intensive that the European industry and the European consumers like to use, but where we should not use too much gas for at the moment because gas is in short supply if we don't want to rely on the Russians.
一场战火凸显出欧洲能源计划的缺陷，虽然欧盟砸下大笔经费持续推动绿能产业，也是缓不济急。俄乌冲突等于敲响警钟，欧洲忙着展开全新布局，准备在今年之内把对俄罗斯天然气的仰赖削减2/3，能源市场势必因此大洗牌。TVBS 新闻综合报道。
请支持 TVBS 国际 Plus 全新频道，让您扩大视野，掌握趋势，接轨全世界。恳请订阅，开启小铃铛。